Hi there, I'm Gary, welcome to my channel and welcome to this list of my top 10 kits I'd like that don't exist yet. These are things I'd really like to build for a variety of reasons, but which are either not available at all, they're available at the wrong scale for me, or they're not available in a suitable material such as injection moulded styrene. As before, these are entirely personal choices based on what I'd like to build. Why not leave a comment below to share what you'd like to see? This is ideal world stuff. There's no budget or sales targets to satisfy here. Now, if you enjoy the show, and I hope you do, please remember to let YouTube know by giving it the old imperial thumbs up on the like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by hitting the notification bell to hear about all my future videos as they are released. So let's kick off and look at number 10 on my list. At number 10 is the Bristol Type 188, an astonishingly advanced looking research aircraft from the 1960s made to study the effects of structures and materials at supersonic speeds. Two kits have been made in the past in 1/72nd scale, a resin kit by Whirly Kits and a vac form one by Main Track Models, but neither of these are kits I'd particularly like to tackle. The Type 188 would make a nice research companion to something like the FX TSR2. 1/72nd scale would do me, although 1/48th would be fun despite being fully half a metre in length. In at 9 is the Bedford RL truck in 1/35th scale. The RL was the base for a panoply of variants used in military and civilian roles, not least of which were the famous Green Goddess firefighting vehicles. Now, these have been made in 1/35th scale before, but these were made by the now defunct Accurate Armour Company, were made in resin and used to cost a huge amount of money. I think a company such as Airfix, with its newfound love for Cold War British vehicles, could create a very useful range of these trucks in a variety of versions at 1/35th scale. On to number 8, and something I think cruelly neglected, the Saunders Roe P177 Hybrid Interceptor. Now, a kit of the SR53 prototype was sold by Airfix in 1/72nd scale and is also available now from AZ model, including two-seat versions and fighters armed with fast-streak missiles. However, the SR53 was limited in design to a point defence role, so the larger and more powerful P177 was developed as a potential service aircraft. The much larger jet engine meant that the rocket would only be needed for dash speeds, so other roles such as strike and reconnaissance could have been performed. The project was cancelled in 1957 on grounds of cost and the UK's changing military strategy. Now, the P177 has been available as a resin kit from Freight Dog in 1/72nd scale. I'd really want this to be available in 1/48 scale. I think it should be in any case. At 7 is the Short Sperrin, a 4-engine jet bomber design from the 1950s. It was created as a backup in case the ultra-modern V-bombers, the Valiant, Vulcan and Victor, were delayed into service for any reason. As such, the Sperrin was much more conventional in design with unswept wings. In the end, the bomber projects were introduced in time, so Sperrin prototypes are used for various research projects instead, including as flying engine testbeds. Magna Models did produce the cast resin kit of the Sperrin, one that had white metal parts as well, in 1/72nd scale, and both Anagrand Craftswork and S&M Models made resin kits in 1/144th scale. I'd love to see an injection moulded kit in 1/72nd to sit alongside the V-Bomber trio. In 6 is what Hawker Siddeley saw as the natural development of vertical takeoff and landing in NATO, the supersonic P1154. It was designed with two versions in mind, a single-seater for the RAF and a two-seater for the Fleet Air Arm. As it turned out, the project for a pan-NATO V-style aircraft collapsed. When the P1154 was selected over the French Mirage 3V, the French pulled out of the project and no funding was able to be gathered from any other NATO members. Ultimately, the P1154 project was superseded by the F4 Phantom. Again, the only kits made so far have been in 1/72nd scale, in cast resin from Freight Dog and Silver Cloud, and in vac form by Main Track Models. I think again though, this needs to be in styrene and it needs to be in 1/48 scale. Into the top half of the draw now, and at number 5 is another Cold War vehicle once made by Accurate Armour, this time the Humber Pig armoured vehicle in 1/35th scale. This is the iconic vehicle used by the British Army in the RUC during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Several versions were made, including one with a turreted light machine gun that was used largely in County Antrim. The Pig served from the 1950s to the 1990s with a range of upgrades to counter threats such as rocket-propelled grenades. If you see news footage of the Troubles in the 60s through to the 90s, you're likely to see a Humber Pig. Now that Accurate Armour is gone, the Pig is only represented at 1/43rd scale by Mountford Metal Miniatures and in 1/72nd scale by Armada Models. It would be great if someone took up the challenge of moulding it in styrene in 1/35th. Into 4th place is another attempt at vertical takeoff and landing. This time it's the Rockwell XFV-12A. Designed from the off as a supersonic naval interceptor with Sparrow radar-guided missiles and intended for use from small ships, the XFV-12A was the first plane I saw that really grabbed my attention as something very definitely from the future. Its complex augmented lift system baffled me and still does, and I was immune to the risk of ground strikes the Finns had sitting so very low to the ground. It just looked the part, and I imagined squadrons of them deployed on convoy protection duties. Well, my imagination certainly outperformed the abilities of the design, which never even achieved untethered hovering flight, the engine only capable of providing about 75% of the thrust needed. With cost overruns growing, the project and the small carriers it was intended to use were cancelled in 1981. Ultimately, the US Marine Corps selected the Harrier as their V-STOL aircraft, and with great success. Once again, the only kits ever made have been the Anigrand version in cast resin and the Main Track Models kits in vac form, both at 1/72nd scale. I'd love for this and its bonkered louvered wings to be available in 1/48th scale. It's top 3 time, and these are things I'd really like to have. In 3rd place is the Rolls-Royce Thrust Measuring Rig, affectionately known as the Flying Bedstead. This flew in 1953 and was the first jet-powered vehicle to ascend purely on the engine's power. It used 2 Neen engines for thrust and was used to establish a lot of the rules of flight and stability that were later critical to the development of the Hawker Harrier. One of the 2 thrust measuring rigs still exists at London Science Museum, so should be fairly easy to scan. No one's ever made a kit of this keystone of modern aviation research. I think it's about time someone did. In 2nd place, I'm allowing myself something completely self-indulgent. This is a 1/350th scale kit of the British Colossus class aircraft carrier. One of the class was HMS Triumph, the ship aboard which my late father spent most of his sea service in the Fleet Air Arm. Now, there is a Hele 1/400th scale kit of the French carrier Aramanche, which was itself originally HMS Colossus, but this dates back to 1974 and has all its attendant issues of fit and accuracy. There are photo etch sets available from White Ensign models as well, which are pretty useful actually, even including the nameplates of all of the Royal Navy ships in the class. But all of the armament is also made in photo etch, so all the guns are basically flat. Having a better tooling of the Colossus class in a scale where aftermarket weapons, ship, boats and deck vehicles are readily available would make this a really superb opportunity to make a good model of my dad's ship. The aircraft I need, the Seafire FR-47s and Firefly Make 1s, are easy to get as well. In top place, the kit I'd most love to see, which doesn't yet exist, is the Hawker Osprey biplane in 1/48 scale. So, first of all, I know you can get the Osprey in 1/72 from A model. I know because I've built 4 of them, even with a scratch-built wingfold on one. But there is nothing in 1/48 scale. Why am I so obsessed? Well, again, it's about my father and his squadron, 800 Naval Air Squadron. I've built every type flown by 800 NAS in 1/72 scale, from the Hawker Nimrod and Osprey from the 1930s through to disbandment in 2010 and the Harrier GR9. However, I now want to redo this project in 1/48 scale, and the only things I can't yet source are the Supermarine Scimitar and the Hawker Osprey. The Scimitar is in progress at DBMK for release hopefully later this year, but as yet, no one has a Hawker Osprey planned. So that's it, my very personal top 10 kits I want to make, but which aren't available in the form I'd like them. Let me know what you'd like to see by leaving a comment below. If you enjoyed this, then please do also remember to give the video the Imperial thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification button. Thank you so much for watching today, and goodbye.